Arcanine and Rotom, where Wolfe is running the Dusclops, Mimikyu, Reuniclus, Rhyperior, Liepard, and Togekiss. What an interesting team for both of these players.
Well, we actually saw Wolfe's team featured on stream yesterday. Not piloted by him, piloted by one of his kind of team-building teammates in Justin Karras. You know, this team that they've been working together on, himself, Justin, and Aaron Traylor, obviously our Dallas regional champion. They've been working together on teams for a little while, particularly in this early Sword and Shield format, and I think that kind of conglomeration of these fantastic players coming together really makes some of the best teams that could be defining as we progress through the season. Alberto, though, some definite non-traditional picks, I think. Safe to say, with something like Togedemaru that we haven't seen in a little while, Hydreigon that's been on the fringes. Very interesting to see those coming into play, and hey, we're going to get one of those right in the lead.
We are. We have Hydreigon and Arcanine for Alberto versus the Mimikyu and Togekiss for Wolfe.
This Hydreigon's in an interesting position. I really like Hydreigon as a pick, but it obviously has that very, very dangerous 4x weakness to fairy types. And when you look down at Wolfe's side of the field and see 2 fairy types, maybe not the time for Hydreigon. That said, we do see a very, very early Dynamax. I mean, turn 1 Dynamax is not uncommon, but maybe trying to carve out an advantage where you might not be able to see one. The Hydreigon's not going anywhere in the face of these 2 fairy types.
With the Dynamax, you are going to get double the HP, so maybe this is one of the ways that Alberto is just trying to mitigate some of the damage coming through from Wolfe, but we're actually going to see that turn 1 Dynamax from Alberto matched by Wolfe, and we'll see exactly which Pokemon this is going to be, but it doesn't surprise me at all that it is the Togekiss that gets that Dynamax factor.
Togekiss has been getting Dynamaxed a lot in recent weeks, and that makes it a little bit more of a handful to deal with. That said, Hydreigon does have some of the best coverage in the game when you think about all its moves, and it's showing like some of it off right now, and already revealing the item on Wolfe's Togekiss.
Yeah, that Max Steel Spike going to show that that Togekiss from Wolfe is holding the Babiri Berry, which ends up cutting that damage for the Togekiss, so it will be able to hold on and get an attack off. Defense, though, going to be boosted for both of the Pokemon on Alberto's side, but now it's time for Mimikyu to use a Swords Dance. It's going to increase its attack and make sure that it gets off some big damage.
Yeah, I mean, it might have to be careful about it. The Arcanine following up with Flare Blitz, so everything on this Togekiss, and this Mimikyu's in a great position now. It's going to get a little bit more support as well from the Togekiss. With the Max Airstream, not enough for the knockout on Arcanine, but that speed boost is going to be vitally important against something like this Hydreigon.
Yeah, we saw the Hydreigon move first, so it's definitely important to note that that Max Airstream going to increase the speed for both of Wolfe's Togekiss and that Mimikyu, especially because that Mimikyu just went for that Swords Dance.
Well, this Mimikyu now becomes the problem. It's still got its Disguise active, as I mentioned a little bit before. Disguise has changed a bit. It's not quite as good as it was in previous generations of the game, but it's still not busted, so you still need to hit that Mimikyu twice to make sure you get the knockout. Something like a Snarl from Arcanine would have helped, being able to maybe break that Disguise, get a little bit of damage down as well. Obviously, not so worried about the special attack on that side, but also getting a little bit of reduction on the Togekiss could have been great there as well. This Hydreigon really looks to be in trouble, and with it as Alberto's Dynamax, you don't want to be switching it out. You want to leave it in there. And I think maybe that Max Steel Spike falling short, finding out about the Babiri Berry is important, but if you look at the numbers, maybe, if we got the Steel Spike with full damage and then a Flare Blitz, it would have got there. This Mimikyu just keeps going.
Yeah, that was a great call by Wolfe, recognizing that Alberto might want to try to protect that Hydreigon, and Togekiss using the Max Starfall right into that Max Guard, I think is okay, because that Mimikyu ended up getting up that Swords Dance. Arcanine, though, going for the Flare Blitz, will connect with the Mimikyu's Disguise, so that Disguise no longer in play.
Yeah, the Disguise busted on this turn. It is going to take a little bit of damage from that. Takes a little bit now. It used to stay at full health, but the Disguise was gone. So, I mean, it's a little bit of damage, but that's not as much as you need the Flare Blitz to do. Right now, I see a lot of problems for Alberto with the way that Wolfe's set up. He's got the Togekiss, which can handily handle this Hydreigon, and then he's got this Mimikyu, which is boosted now twice. That overly compensates for the Intimidate from the Arcanine earlier, and there's not really much on Alberto's side of the team that's going to be able to comfortably take attacks from this Mimikyu.
Mimikyu is definitely a big threat for Alberto's team. Hydreigon also just went for the Max Guard, so the chances of it being able to protect again are very slim that Hydreigon might be taking some big damage.
Well, this Mimikyu's not only got the benefit from the double Swords Dance, but also from the Max Airstream on turn 1 as well, so it's surprisingly pacey for something like a Mimikyu, which is in this interesting speed tier where it can function in Trick Room, but with a simple boost from Max Airstream, also becomes a pretty good offensive threat. Alberto forced to switch out his Dynamax Hydreigon before it's even completed all 3 of its Dynamax turns.
Yeah, it's only been able to get 2 of those turns off, but Alberto doesn't want to take a chance. And unfortunately, the play rough from the Mimikyu is going to go right into the protected Arcanine. It's time for Togekiss, though, to make a move, and right into the Togekiss that switched in. It's going to do about half damage with that Max Starfall.
Yeah, it's a Max Starfall. Sets up the Misty Terrain. I don't know if that's going to be relevant in this game in particular. Could be with something like the Togedemaru, which, you know, sometimes manages to land some paralysis. So we'll see if that becomes relevant. And I will say, even though he's up against it, Alberto has stalled through the 3 turns of Wolf's Dynamax very, very well. The Togekiss has not done all of the damage it wanted to, didn't manage to successfully land huge hits on that Hydreigon. So they're kind of, you know, yes, they're exactly even on Pokemon count. Alberto's had to reveal 1 more. But once again, you've still got the benefit from Airstream in play. You've still got this Mimikyu with huge health, and even something like the Togekiss on Alberto's side, even if you're redirecting attacks with something like Follow Me, you're going to be struggling.
Extreme Speed hoping to at least put this Togekiss within a knockout range, but the play rough onto the Togekiss means that Alberto's not going to be able to get a second attack for this turn. So Togekiss getting a chance to go for the Air Slash, and the Arcanine that's already pretty low will get a double knockout here. Yeah,
I mean, this combination that we'll set up on the field is going to be a huge issue to deal with. His Togekiss isn't doing as much damage now, but we see, of course, the Air Slash is enough, and that's important. Alberto, once again, forced to bring back in Hydreigon, staring down 2 Fairy types, and Rotom as well, which, while good against something like the Togekiss from Wolf's side of the field, still going to struggle. Maybe not even given the opportunity to set up that easily. This Max Airstream boost still a factor in this game.
Yeah, that Max Airstream boost has meant that Arcanine had to go for an attack that it might not necessarily have wanted to go to if it really had the option. So Extreme Speed probably not the best choice there for the Arcanine, but this Protect from the Hydreigon just trying to stall out as much damage as possible. Mimikyu going for the play rough right into that Protect. Togekiss going for a Yawn into the Rotom.
That's interesting to see the Yawn on Rotom in this instance.
Oh, Hydro Pump connects.
Hydro Pump does land on the Mimikyu. Isn't going to be enough for a knockout, though, and a very smart and very technical play from Wolf. Yawn in the Misty Terrain, obviously with the Rotom levitating, doesn't matter. If he can stall out this turn and then avoid damage from Rotom this turn, then he's still going to be in a great position to start just throwing out play roughs with Mimikyu. So we'll see exactly how he goes for it. Hydreigon is forced into just not doing anything.
It was trying to go for the double protect, doesn't get it off.
Ooh.
But the Rotom holds on and actually puts it in range of being able to consume its berry. And Citrus Berry going to help to bring up a little bit of health here, but Wolf's Togekiss going for the Dazzling Gleam, gets the double knockout in game 1, going to Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Max Airstream boost from turn 1 is so vital there. In the fact that something like Togekiss got to comfortably move before Rotom, and of course the Mimikyu going first, that was a real clinic on how Wolf's team can set up there. That was honestly huge that he saw the Hydreigon, had 2 fairies, and knew he was just in the driver's seat from that point.
He didn't have to switch in any of the Pokemon that were in the back. We didn't even know what the 3rd and 4th Pokemon were that were brought to that match.
Nope, no idea, and that's going to be something that Alberto has to think about. Honestly, surprising. I know a lot of Rotoms are quite bulky. Hey, taking that play rough is huge, and you know, Wolf being smart about it, knowing he can land the Yawn in there because of the way that terrain interacts, quite smart, giving up a little bit of information in that regard, but if you're on Alberto's side, you've got to be a little more cautious with that Hydreigon. It's such a focal point of his team. If you look down his team list, Togedemaru, Whimsicott, quite supportive. Togedemaru does do a good amount of damage, though. You know, Togekiss as well. Hey, that's, you know, in the middle. Arcanine, Rotom, but Hydreigon is definitely that focal point for damage. There's a lot of plays he can make that really empower that Hydreigon to do more. But I think as soon as he saw the Max Steel Spike go into the Babiri Berry turn 1, he knew he was going to be behind the pace from that point on.
Maybe has to find a way to protect the Hydreigon a little bit better, maybe even bringing it in the back and not going for the turn 1 Dynamax. I mean, it's just kind of hard to say, because if Wolf goes for the same leads, then Alberto is in a bit of a difficult situation to try to work around that.
If Wolf goes for the same leads, which I'm not sure if he will, I mean, I think giving up that kind of show on how that works, he has so many options in the team, it wouldn't shock me to see him mix it up. But I do think Alberto looked at something like that Reuniclus and was Reuniclus and Dusclops, actually, both of them. Seeing those kind of hints, hey, maybe Hydreigon's a good selection here. And Wolf very smartly, I think, reading into that and saying, hey, I know you've got Hydreigon. I know you're going to want to stop my Dusclops. And the Runiculus, which has been such a focal point of this team for these players, you know, Wolfe, Justin, Aaron, all running it, all putting up good records with it. Answering that with just 2 fairy types is such good reading at team preview.
There are so many options when you look at the team that those 3 players are running, that Wolfe is piloting right now. There's just so many different options that you have in terms of what you can bring in the front and what you can bring in the back and kind of what the mid and late game are. It's really impressive.
Yeah, no, it's super smart to see them, you know, working around it that way. And a team with so many options is always going to be a handful to deal with. The pressure's really on Alberto to not put himself in that position on turn 1. But his team has similar, you know, similar flexibility. I think it's unfair to say that Wolfe's is the only one that's flexible.
Oh, no,
you know,
absolutely.
In some of his games, you can lead Whimsicott Togedemaru and just try and carve out a little advantage there. So I do think there's a number of options, and I think he's definitely forced to try and mix it up as we go back into team preview.
Well, game 1, Wolfe is going to have a 1-game lead over Alberto, but it's definitely not over yet. There's so much flexibility that both of these players have in regards to their teams that I definitely think that this is going to be a close set.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt it, and I think there's options on both. I think both trainers are going to take a little bit of time here in team preview. Alberto looks deep in thought on how he's going to maneuver his way around this one. Wolfe a little bit quicker, but you know, when you have such a confident game 1, you're probably in a solid position. Wolfe just prepping for the game, knowing what he has to do, but you can't. I just don't think you can lead Hydreigon into a potential double fairy. I think that's just a little bit too audacious for me.
Well, it looks like both players have thought about what they want to lead, thought about what their game plan is going to be going into the second game. It's only a matter of time before we see what that turn 0 is going to be, what those leads are.
Yeah, I think the leads are very important in this matchup. As it was so defining in game number 1. The game number 2 does have to be a little bit different. So we'll see exactly how they decide to play it out. Looks like both trainers, hands off the switches, they're ready to go. You know, they're just waiting to see what their opponent's thrown out and how they're going to progress through this game.
Well, we're about to get into it. We're about to see those leads, and we will find out now if this is going to be as important as it was in game 1. Alberto leading with Arcanine and Togekiss, so switching it up, and Wolfe also switching it up, bringing in Liepard and Reuniclus. We saw how powerful that duo can be. Yeah,
Liepard and Reuniclus together is definitely a very strong combination. Alberto's made a smart adaptation. Don't forget, Alberto does know a good amount about this team. They did play in Swiss yesterday, and Alberto managed to get the best of Wolfe in that set. So they both know a good amount about each other's teams. I don't think there's any tricks or secrets, really. But I don't think they would have gone through what is now 4 games without seeing this Liepard and Reuniclus combination. So we'll see the adaptation. Hydreigon is back on the team for Alberto as it switches in right away for the Togekiss. Arcanine protecting, so a real defensive turn, and everything's on Wolfe to do exactly what he wants right now.
Liepard going for the fake out, goes into the Hydreigon.
Yeah,
and Reuniclus just gets a chance to set up a Trick Room.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing that, you know, Alberto can do about that. If he's going to play that turn so defensively, Wolfe capitalizes on it so well by just saying, you know what, I think you're going to play this safe, play this smart, and just try and get yourself in a better board position. Something like Hydreigon coming in is a huge threat to Reuniclus, but at least Reuniclus is given a little bit of breathing room now by being in Trick Room. It's going to be going first, and it's going to be in a good position to try and get some damage down. We did see it yesterday when Justin Karras was piloting it, actually putting out a lot of damage from some of its attacks and some of those interesting team choices. So we'll see if Wolfe goes for the same, but Hydreigon Arcanine, a nice solid pairing, good potential outputs, and, you know, Hydreigon's not shy of dealing damage.
Definitely not, but it might be shy in this situation where now that the Trick Room is set up, Mimikyu is going to be taking the place of Liepard, who did its job by faking out and just making sure the Trick Room is going to go off without a hitch. Now it's time to also Dynamax. Wolfe has set up the end game, hopefully going to utilize this Dynamax and get full value from it. We've seen how much this Reuniclus can do, especially in the face of some of these other Pokemon, but Alberto, not scared, doesn't want to go for any sort of pause either, will be going for the Dynamax as well, and it's still going to be that Hydreigon, but you got to worry about that Mimikyu. Yeah,
I do think Alberto, once again, even in Trick Room, putting all his eggs in the Hydreigon basket, which is a really big call at such an early stage in this game, saying, hey, even though you've got Pokemon that can beat it quite competently, I'm just going to go and just Dynamax this Hydreigon That said, I mean, it's an interesting turn from Arcanine, who doesn't get to extreme speed and then gets immediately knocked out.
It's just so much damage. We saw this Reuniclus go for a one-hit knockout onto a Togekiss. That's really impressive amounts of damage coming out from Reuniclus, but I'm excited to see how much this Max Darkness is going to do from this Hydreigon right into the Reuniclus, and oh, it hangs on.
Yeah, this is Alberto showing how much Hydreigon can do. Reuniclus known for being exceptionally defensive, bulky, hard to knock out, whatever you want to call it, and that is a huge amount of damage down. He also gets a special defense drop, which could be relevant as we go through this game. I mean, Reuniclus, if it gets hit by anything super effective or that does significant damage, it's gone. But Mimikyu coming in, setting up its, disguise is still intact, so it may have an opportunity to look for the Swords Dance. That said, Hydreigon does not like fairy types. I cannot reiterate this enough. And Mimikyu, as we kind of talked about in Game 1 a little bit, functions so well with a little speed boost, but is also no stranger to Trick Room. It used to be one of the most potent Trick Room setters in VGC, and now it's put in a little bit of a weird position. Reuniclus is still going to be going first and can land as much damage as possible before it gets potentially knocked out.
Trick Room has been such an important part of Wolfe's game, but I feel like Alberto going for the Dynamax was actually really intelligent, because look how much damage it did end up doing to that Reuniclus. So it's within a knockout range from anything coming out from that Rotom or the Hydreigon on this next turn. So I think Alberto's actually put themselves in a really good position despite losing that Arcanine in turn 1.
Yeah, it's just got to be so careful of this Mimikyu right now. I mean, yes, it's going to be stretching a little bit to knock out a Dynamax Hydreigon, but it could still be getting so much damage down, and this Reuniclus is given the opportunity. Obviously, it can't max Mindstorm the Hydreigon, which would probably be the preferred option, getting the same type of attack bonus and the terrain. But Hydreigon max guarding, and this does give Wolfe an opportunity to capitalize.
Yeah, Max Mindstorm's going to go right into the Rotom that just switched in, and even though it's a bulky Pokemon, that's going to be another knockout for that Reuniclus. Yeah,
you can't do anything about it in the terrain. Mimikyu doesn't capitalize, so at least that's a little bit of respite for Alberto. Is going to be forced to bring the Togekiss last, but once again, Wolfe in such a commanding position early on. This is the last turn of Dynamax for both trainers as well. But then there's like a tiny bit more Trick Room after that. There's actually 2 more turns, so that's going to keep going. And this Hydreigon still definitely up against it. You know, it's one of those issues where you go for it with the Dynamax, you didn't get the knockout on Reuniclus, and the next turn the Reuniclus just punishes you by taking advantage of A, the fact it set the terrain, and B, the fact it does so much damage.
This Hydreigon ended up going for the Max Guard in that last turn, so it can't go for the Max Guard again.
It had to. You can't.
But it had to, yeah,
you can't face down the Mimikyu and say, you know what, I'm going to try and attack in your face. Obviously, Hydreigon, is a boosted level of health right now because of exactly how Dynamax works, but we're still in a position where there's a lot of damage coming down. Max Mindstorm is just going to keep going and getting a bit of damage down. Oof, a lot of damage down on Togekiss through the Protect.
Yeah, yep. The Mimikyu, though, going for the player in front of the Hydreigon. Hydreigon hangs on. We'll be able to get off a Max Steel Spike. It's going to go right into Reuniclus, and doesn't matter. It's going to at least get the knockout there. Yeah, I mean, it's finally getting rid of this Reuniclus, but honestly, with the way that Reuniclus has done so much work in something like this this terrain, its Dynamax would have ended at the end of the turn anyway, and this Hydreigon is just dangerously low. I mean, it's going to end its Dynamax now, and we'll see exactly... Oh, it doesn't matter. It's the Life Orb, and it's gone. I was going to say the crit doesn't matter.
Oh, no. I mean,
but the Life Orb does.
Yeah, the Hydreigon, its Life Orb recall does knock it out. So now it's Togekiss versus Lipard and another from Wolfe's side. He's going to show Lipard again. Maybe he doesn't want to show the 4th if he doesn't have to. But this Mimikyu's still got its disguise intact. This Lipard's going to be able to fake out this turn if it really... Oh, no, it can't. It's struggling a bit there. But, it's really been an uphill struggle for Alberto in this game. And this Hydreigon not doing as much as it would have liked.
I think it's just a type disadvantage.
Yeah, I think when the focal point of your team is going to be... oh, there's fake out. Togekiss isn't on the ground. My apologies. Mimikyu sets up Swords Dance really just to rub it in. He's already revealed it, so why not? But Lipard, knowing those terrain interactions very, very well, terrain or Twisted Dimensions do end, Trick Room's over. Psychic Terrain's got one more turn, but Alberto, obviously managed to best Wolfe in Swiss, but Wolfe learned so much from that set, able to capitalize on it, and, Togekiss is slowly going to get worn down.
critical hit foul play just could be able to do a little bit of damage. Mimikyu going for the Phantom Force. Wolf still trying to play it safe, just trying to bait out some of the damage from this Togekiss. So the Mimikyu is going to avoid this Dazzling Gleam, but Liepard takes that one down to its Focus Sash.
Yep, Liepard just clinging on. Nothing going to be able to pick that up, no residual damage between turns, but Liepard's really not the issue here. I mean, it's one of those things, you bring in the fake out, you know that Togekiss isn't on the ground, and just go from there. Liepard getting a little bit down, but I think after the Swords Dance, as soon as Mimikyu pops back up, this should wrap up the set for Wolf.
Phantom Force is going to be the last and final hit necessary in order to knock out the final Pokemon from Alberto, and Wolf takes this game and the series.